before game, during game, after game. Okay, so some do's and don'ts of a game. This is just like all organizational. It's almost by the eye. Let's go over the don'ts first. Don't have players and parents on the same half of the field. So like you're sideline, right? You're on the sideline with the AR, not the opposite, and then the parents are over there. Personally, I say like 10 yards even off of the half line. I say, get away from me. So like have a separation of your team and your players, and your parents. Don't have your parents also like sitting on the corner down the way of your half. Like own your half, get the parents out of there. Don't have more than one coaching like during the game. Obviously, assistants like benefit you a ton, and like having those conversations benefit. But if I'm yelling at Candace and he's yelling at Candace and we're both yelling at Candace, it's just a lot.
Just to clarify, you probably were saying no coaches coaching at the same time. Because oftentimes, sometimes, like I'm doing something that, and I may ask an assistant, hey, would you make that switch over there? But he's the one tacking.
Oh yeah,
on.
I think that's great, and I also think that's your relationship with them,
Right.
and if your team's prepared for that, awesome. But if you're both coming up with your own coaching points and saying both of those things, that's a lot of information for all those kids, and then also whose voice are they looking out for, that type of thing. But yeah, I mean, especially if it's like you're focused on the ball for a second, and then your assistant can notice something and change something, great. But don't have just like a lot of voices going on during the game. Don't harass the referees. I mean, we get a message like every 2 weeks about that, so I think that's just like pretty rule of thumb. Don't harass the referees. I've never had a call come back once they make the call. It's pretty rare, so it's kind of just like let it go.
But sometimes we don't harass. Like I don't harass. I just ask him like, why do you call that? And I find that like they feel like I'm being rude to them, even though I'm just asking. Like,
Yeah,
really, why?
I mean,
I just
there's a fine line. The refs right now are like,
You just
You
read
don't
the
talk
ref,
to
right?
them, yeah.
You read the ref.
Just don't
Yeah.
look
You
at
can talk to
them.
ref, okay.
yeah. I mean, I've gotten more talkative in the last like 2 years than like I ever did. And I never like asked a question for the ref. I could be like, oh, can I sub? And they'll be like, yellow card. So it's like, just you gotta maintain the sideline a little bit, because if you're like, sometimes you can coach and you can use the ref to your advantage of like hyping up your team, but also if you're frustrated with the ref and the parents and the players, they all become frustrated, and then it becomes like an excuse game of like, but it's not up to the ref. Who wins and loses the game, or how you play? So, don't allow your spectators to coach. I think, especially with like younger age groups, even in the older age groups, like maintain those parents that where the kids are like relying on what their parents say, and they look over at their parents every time. Like try to manage those parents, and then don't allow interactions between your spectators and the other spectators, especially our parents to the opposing team. Don't allow your parents to talk to players on the other team. Don't let your emotions coach, which we kind of will go into that later, but like you should be prepared for the game and know what you want out of the game, what you're coaching in the game, instead of being wrapped up in your emotions and like a kid gets the end of it type of thing.
Are these expectations as far as like seating arrangements expected when we are visitors in another field too? Because that's a little rough. Sometimes you get there and the parents and the team is already there, right? They're already sitting.
You say
Players will be on
move.
one half,
Yeah.
but you can be on
On
the
like
same
the same
side,
side.
but they're just gonna be on.
Oh,
yeah.
gotcha,
Just
gotcha.
like be
Yeah.
on the
They
other
have
half.
to-
Like the 50-yard line.
Yeah,
is
their
kinda
side of
your-
the
Oh, that's what I,
Between
okay,
players.
got it.
Okay.
I do have a quick question on that, just fast.
Yeah.
So we've had parents that have sat on our side. We've asked to move and asked the ref to have the parents move.
On your team or the opposing team?
No, they're on the opposing team that have sat on our side and made life like really miserable for
Oh,
them.
so
Like,
hard
really
dealing
want
with
it.
this stuff.
And I'm like, dude, those weren't our parents, those aren't our parents. I'd ask them to move.
I would just talk to the ref and make the ref.
Yeah, like,
Just have the
I don't
ref-
like them,
then
if
the
I'm
ref
telling them
knows
to
it's
move,
not-
I promise, yeah, right, okay.
Yeah.
That would be my suggestion, cause then the ref knows they're not your parents.
I'll be like,
That's how
we
that-
really hate them when we don't know them.
Okay, positive notes of dudes. Have an organized bench area. Line their bags up. Have it clean. Be organized. It kind of just like sets the tone that you're about to compete for something. Celebrate the goals and work with your players. Like you're playing a game, it should be exciting and it can be fun. Like there is a need for positivity on the sideline.
Celebrate the goals even if you're winning 11-0, it's pretty hard.
When I'm winning 11-0, I'll let you know how I handle it. Okay, I mean, applaud the other team and the coach after games. I mean, my favorite thing to do is when the other team makes a great save because it's like secretly complimenting my team for the great shot, and it's like, great save, keeper. But also like applaud the parents or the referee, like thanks. You know, be a welcoming team that refs are okay with reffing over and over again. Look professional, wear the gear, look like a soccer coach, and then have your setup, your warm up setup, especially for your subs that are on the bench for a minute, and then be composed and like know to refer to your game plan that you did beforehand, which we'll go over. Okay, so some of the pre-games, just like prep for your pre-game is you get there, you have your warm-up set up before you start. So you're not setting up while, you know, like they're doing their dynamics, you're not having to set up. Obviously something's timing happens, but prepare, know what your goals and your objectives are going into the game. And just having more organization of like your set pieces, what you're doing on kickoff, what half do you want to start with if the wind is crazy, just like mentally being prepared. The optics again is just like it looks set up. You have a visual for your team with the tactics board or whiteboard or cones, and then the bench is also set up and everything. The substance of a pregame. Have a pregame plan. Your attacking goals, your defending goals, what your motivation piece is. But a lot of this should relate to what you've been working on in training. No games as of like right now are to win. They are, I mean, obviously we want to win, but the end goal is not just like win at all costs, unless it's like State Cup or an EA game right now. But all of these other games are, you are trying to win, don't get me wrong, but you're also trying to win with what we've been working on for that week. And having that in mind and like reinforcing that with your players so it can all tie together. Because it makes no sense to practice on something for 6 weeks when you never ask them to do it in the competition. These are some examples that Michael has created for his teams that he sends them out with like the starting lineup and set pieces. So this is just kind of a visual.
Michael, do you send the starting 11 a day
Usually
prior?
do the morning of.
The morning of?
Yeah.
Yeah, and like obviously like some of our teams don't have it. Like I don't communicate to my players because they're 12. I communicate to their parents. So like for me, I wait till the morning of the games and I tell them beforehand. But this is like awesome to know, especially for your subs to know like who's in a wall and not, even if they rotate type of thing. Okay, and then the warm up. So like this is a bunch of different pieces of the warm up. But for as far as dynamic movement, especially something to hit on the warm up is that you are literally warming them up. They don't have to be like game ready in the warm up. So like it doesn't have to be like, I mean, you want it to be like towards the end, but at the beginning when they're doing their dynamics, you know, their 3 lines, it's like just getting it going. They're warming up their bodies for a reason. And also like we have a movement and a director like Kenzie. Like I steal all my warm-ups from Kenzie. I'm like, oh, can you write me a warm-up? And then I use that for the year. So like if you're lost on like, you know, what dynamic to teach your team to do, like reach out to those resources and, or like come up with a new idea for something.
Really quick, what's the first thing we normally do when we warm our teams up? Jog and stretch. How many of us ask them to do quick sprint, high movements in that? Just raise your hand, it's okay.
I do, yeah.
Okay, and then thoughts on that? Because I used to do this all the freaking time. As a player, I go from high heart rate, blood freaking pumping, I'm going, and then you get into a passing pattern and possession, and they automatically drop. What's that do to their body? Right, from a physiological
Starts
standpoint.
cooling it down.
Yeah, cool
Cool
it
down.
down. Like, so a warm up is considered a warm up. So right by kickoff is when they should be at the peak. Just to kind of visualize this, but I myself did this and I would demand like freaking go from the whole thing, and it's like, you can't expect your players to be like this and then,
Perform well.
well, they probably do until about right there. You know what I mean? Like, and then the longevity of it as well. And we'll talk about that, but sorry, go on.
No, good. So yeah, just coming up with that dynamic warm up, and have it be organized. The kids know what they're doing. I do the same one every time. So, and then like a little bit of technical work. Like you don't have to do this picture, but like anyone can come up with something. It's getting them on the ball, but it's not like super demanding of them. They're not running around a ton. Like I like to do volleys, 2 touch pass, 1 touch, and then I think a great one is for the older age groups is like getting something out of the air, a header, a chest, whatever. So that the first time they do that day is not with contact, but something like that, getting them on the ball for technical.
So I want to throw something in. I was a goalkeeper, and I would want a million freaking balls to my hands before the game started. Well, we recorded my warm up, and I was actually taking more reps in the game warm up than I was in practice. And so by the time, like, I was doing that, and by the time the game started, like as a goalkeeper, I'm chilling the whole game. Like, when does a goalkeeper ever, like, unless you're getting just battered by Jose, your goalkeeper, and this is just me trying to relate this back to goal players, like, they don't need 50 reps of technical work. It's just 3, 6, 8, whatever they need to feel comfortable. Like if they get 4 passes and they're good, freaking great. Now little kids, that may be a little different, but like they don't need all these reps if they don't even get inside of training. Like that would be my 2 cents for all of warm up is don't make it more intensive than an actual practice or game. Sorry,
Yeah,
go ahead.
and so that kind of goes with the possession is, I mean, again, you can come up with any possession drill. This is a 3-team one where one team gets to be on the outside for, 90 seconds and then they rotate type of thing, which I think is nice. But it is in a smaller grid. It's not, sideline, 18 to half. That's too big for a warm up. It's got to be a little bit smaller, and you're also not going for 10 minutes straight. It's like 90 seconds. Okay, relax, take a stretch, whatever you need, and then we're on again. That type of thing. So possession, and then a finishing to goal segment. Again, you don't have to do this one, but it's simple. It's getting them reps. It's getting the goalkeeper reps.
Just please don't put frickin' 70 people in the line and one coach laying the ball off.
Sweet optics.
If you're gonna do this, I have no problem with the layoff, but split it up into like 4 groups. So it's pop, 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 just so that there's more repetition, it's quicker, for me, like this kid's gonna get probably 2 shots. Like that's just the truth, like, it's less of the optics and more the actual, like, what the kid is getting out of it. Like, just don't do a big one.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and think about like your resources. How many balls do you have? Do you have help? Because at the same time that your your attacking half is doing finishing, your defensive half should be doing something as well. I think it was like 2 years ago, I didn't have an assistant, and I was always with the defense, like doing the things that I wanted to do with defense, and then my finishing was just crap, like, it was too complicated, and like, no one tracking balls, and their shots were terrible, so it's just like knowing what resources you have to manage the warm-up, but, so this is like defense, do you do this with your, like a 99, 70, 17?
Yeah. What I would do, cause the field's usually super small, like when I had my tens that were 77 and 99, is I just took them on one, like shooting's going on right here, I would just take them right here. And I'd do my back three or my back two, and they can't head, so I just serve the ball in the air and they'd have to one time it, or I'd bounce it into them and they have to take 2 touches, just getting used to, like, especially at this age group, like their goalkeeper pumps a freaking ball and they can't use their head, so it's like, okay, get them used to using their chest, get them used to using the ball bouncing on the ground, like, cause then we get mad at them in the first 2 minutes of the game when it happens and they haven't even had a chance to like warm up to it. Or honestly see it even in training, because we're doing this and in training they never get to see a big direct bouncing ball, so that's more the
Yeah.
thought process.
So finishing in something with your defensive group, and then they can also, you know, after you do that, you go over to your finishing team, they can, build and move the ball around. And then with your starting group, because we wanna have them hit like this peak right at kickoff is, have your starters line up, and then you can do like a quick feet, jump, explode, sprint for, 7 yards type of thing. Okay.
Goes back. Thoughts on the warm-up, suggestions, throw-ins, this is more again, just guidelines to help. Seen a lot of different warm-ups, like, when I was up at the Sounders Academy 2 years ago, they did their passing pattern or their technical work and their possession was all based on what they trained on that week. So it always changed based on what they were working on, which I thought was pretty interesting. For me, to be honest, we coach a lot of teams, and so it's more just routine of like, okay, here's what the warm-up is and not mess with them too much, but I also thought it kept their mind kind of sharp. But thoughts, questions, yes, go for it.
If it's super hot outside, I mean, baking hot, how would
Yeah.
you modify or not?
No possession, that's what I would do.
Yeah, I mean, I would minimize, I mean, you have to do dynamic, I think that's a must,
Sure.
the full dynamic. I think technical work between that and possession, like it's a trade-off, I think. And then, to me, I also probably wouldn't do finishing too much, like I would just minimize your warm-up to 10 or 15 minutes.
I don't know, but I just call the time if it is extremely hot, but they're gonna be playing in the sun too. The game is gonna
Yeah.
be
No,
like,
that's fair.
so I just cut the warm up a little bit.
Just cut down reps, instead of doing 40, you do 2. Another question I would ask is, when do you guys normally, like, how long is your warm-up? Like, just throw it out there.
30 minutes.
Do we do 30?
30.
Okay,
25 to
25? 30?
25. Yeah.
Okay, so,
It just depends, because a lot of times you don't end up, like, I ask all my girls to be there 45 minutes before.
so,
If 10 minutes go by and then you start to get most everyone there, and then you end up getting a 30-minute warm-up.
Okay.
Which includes all of this, right?
so Tanner, I'm gonna pick on your 14s.
Yeah.
How long is their game?
70 minutes.
70 minutes, okay? And then you say 30 for warm-up,
Yeah.
so that's what?
100?
100.
Okay. Do you train that long? If you're in a fitness session, do you train that long?
No.
Okay, so just a thought. He's now expecting them to perform in warm-up and a game longer than they do in a fitness session, or his longest session during the week. What are our thoughts on that?
Oh, you have your dynamic, sorry,
Go for it.
no.
No, go for it.
Oh, I was gonna say, you have your dynamic warm-up, your stretches, all of that, which is like 15 minutes, right? You're not doing the whole 100, full.
But I would say in his 90-minute session, the dynamic is included in that, in training.
Yeah.
Depends
Yeah.
on the coach. Go for it, Lucy.
I just think because you get in training, you get a lot more reps. The intensity, depending on your session, is a lot higher. In a game, it's 11-11, so you have moments where you're not, like, going.
It's high.
It's
Yeah.
high. Whereas training, it's pretty nonstop. So I think there's,
Little different correlation. For me, it's more just a thought. Like, I'm not saying you can't do a 30-minute, please don't do 45 minutes. I'm not saying you can't do 30, but just think about it. Like, we dealt with this at the college level, we were watching our heart rate monitors and GPS, and the 30-minute warm-up, because I think we did 32, they were doing almost as much as they were doing in the half, like just coverage-wise. Not that it was intense, but the coverage-wise was that high in the time that they're out there, versus like, what do they really need to get warmed up? And I think sometimes we just think it's more than it actually needs to be. Now, let's say his 30 minutes, okay, 10 of it is transitioning and water and whatever, like Kafusi's saying. Again, that, I'm not questioning that. It's more just thought process for you guys to think about as you're doing your own warm-ups. I'm not gonna say it has to be 20 minutes, like that's not my thought process. Everyone has a little different, but just think about kind of what's the right word? The consequences of our actions, positive and negative.
So looking at this, based on being peak, when should you do your pregame talk?
Great question. When do you guys do your pregame talk?
I do.
Before the game.
Before the game.
Great.
We got it.
Freaking big time. Before the warm-up, middle warm-up, right before the game. And there's pros and cons to all of them. There's
Yeah.
no right answer. Just
I
quick
do it right
discussion.
before the game, but mine are like extremely short.
Okay?
Like, they can be drinking water and be ready. Same thing at the end, I don't take a lot.
Okay, so right before,
Right before, yeah.
you give the starting lineup right before too?
Yes.
Okay?
Oh, no, they know, because part of the warm-up, I have a seat, yes,
Okay.
so,
So a little bit of mix. So a
Yes.
mix of, he announces the starters and then gives the rest of the tactical and motivation points right before the game. Anybody else do that?
yes.
Josh does that, Lindsay's shaking her head, Armando's shaking his head.
I've done some before where, especially with the little kids, I usually have one or two things that are kind of our focus in
Yeah.
each game that we're gonna work on. And I'll usually let them know what that is before the warm-up, so as we're doing the warm-ups,
They're thinking about
they're
it.
thinking about it, and they're already focusing on, like, we had one game where we had terrible finishing. I mean, we outshot the team 23-3 and tied the game. So our next game, our focus was shot selection, quality of shots, and finishing. And so I designed our warm-up to be more
kind of
based
based off
around
that.
that, and that was our focus, so we knew before warm-up started, that was our focus from warm-ups into the games.
Did you do your 11 then too, or just your tactical thoughts?
No, I didn't do the starting lineup.
Okay, so tactical, so
Just
again,
tactical.
a little bit of mix, so tactical and then 11 right before the kickoff?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk go ahead, Noah.
Well, I've always done my starting 11 right before not right before, but
Yeah.
during warm up, toward the end of the warm up, to see who's kind of engaged,
Yeah,
who's
I was
ready to
gonna say
go.
that too.
Do you, cause you do yours before the day even starts almost, do you ever change from that? Like if a kid shows up and it's just totally off, how
I
do you?
Always got diarrhea in the bathroom.
Well, I mean, I kid not there, it's probably like, I'm not gonna start,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
until
it
it's
happens.
But if the kid shows up, he's like, I'm ready to go, but it's like, you clearly are not ready to
So,
go.
so let's talk a couple things. So this is more the college coach. Like most head coaches, most pro coaches are not on the field at warm up. Because if they watch their players at warm up half the time, they would freaking sub half of them off before the game started. And I think that's just the coach mentality of always wanting to like tweak and fix and move. For me, just the consequence before and after. So if you do it before, are the kids gonna be tuned in during warm up that aren't starting? But how tuned in are the kids that are starting gonna be? You know what I mean? And I think it could be the same after, like, okay, I'm watching this kid, let's see who's actually gonna show up and provide good character and like, whether they know they're starting or not, like I think there's pros and cons to both. Like, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. The only thing I will say is don't have multiple conversations. Like America is known for huddle and talk, warm up, talk, and talking 3-4 different times to your team. Talk before or talk after. Try not to talk in the middle just because it slows down that warm up process. Like that would be my only suggestion and advice is just do it before the whole warm up starts or do it after the warm up's done, just so that you're not interrupting it. That would be my.
I got a question on
Yeah.
that. So, I mean, I've got 8-year-old girls.
Totally.
30 minutes goes by, they've forgotten what you said. Like, it's just 15 minutes go by and they've
Yeah.
forgotten what you said. So, I will do like a brief, here are our objectives, right? Here's our attacking objective, here's our defensive
Yep.
objective for the day. And then I'll ask them again at the end of the
Perfect.
warm up, like,
Love it.
we
Yeah.
have to
I think
revisit
that's great.
it, and then we revisit it again at halftime.
Yeah.
Right,
I
25
think
minutes
that's,
later.
I think that's perfect. That's what
I
it
think
should
a lot
be.
of players can do that.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, other thoughts on warm-ups before we kind of move on? We got 10 minutes here. So, first half, during, and I've seen this a lot. Johnny, let's go, get warmed up. And then what's Johnny do?
Take a couple of jogs maybe. Get fit.
And then this one, this is the.
He's ready, he's ready.
Yeah, I'm good, coach. So, number one, have a proper warm-up. I just tell my kids, go do full dynamic. So our dynamic warm-up, you don't come see me till dynamic is done. Now that's me, but give them something to do. A lot of times it's like, hey, Johnny, go warm up, but Johnny's like, what do I do to warm up? I'm not a coach, like, I'm 14, like I'm always ready to go. Give them something to help. Timing of subs, cone lines, set piece roles and responsibilities. So preparation, just for me, like I had those set pieces. I think the easiest way to do it is instead of having specific players, it's like, okay, 2 is always on the corner, like the post. 3 is always on the post. So the outside backs, you're always on the post. 6, you're always top of the 6. Everybody else is marking. And then maybe you say, okay, the midfield 4, you're always the wall. Just to make it simple, like if you don't want to do, and I don't expect this, but like that way they kind of know instead of goalkeeper, I need 4, and everyone's looking around, like just, hey, our midfielders, you guys are the 4 on the wall. If he calls 4, all 4 of you need to get in there. Like that would be a simple way, I think, you could get that preparation done without having a ton of logistics. Sub out, okay, I'm a midfielder, I know I'm in the wall, simple enough. Rather than, well, am I 2, am I 7, am I 1, am I the bullet? That would be my thoughts. Only one coach standing at a time. It's actually a MLS rule. Why do you think that is?
Intimidation on the refs maybe, or?
Maybe?
It's chaotic.
Okay,
Coaches are
chaotic. So my players pointed this out to me, it was my 03 girls. Anytime I was standing, they felt like they weren't performing well. Or they just weren't as sharp. Now I didn't have to say anything, but they just, my presence of standing just automatically brought this little bit of like, oh shit, if that makes sense. And then you've got 2-3 coaches. It just as a player, it's like, are they ready for a fight? Like what's serious? What's going on? Are they gonna jump on the field? What's going on? So I would just manage like one person standing at a time. Doesn't mean you can't stand, just try not to have a million, or if you're standing, like maybe back off the line and not be up in everybody's face. Basically, again, the substance, what are we doing for warm-up? What are the commands we're gonna use while coaching? I think a lot of times when we coach, we're throwing out a lot of information, and some coaches have keywords. Like Spencer, I know, and Jose, you guys have keywords. Like what's a keyword you use that your team knows what to do?
I'll tell my team to move it side to side,
Okay, side to side, what's that mean though?
moving it from one sideline to the other sideline, trying to open up the defense to find
Okay,
a
so
create space.
it may be different for everybody, but try to come up with some different commands of like, okay, this is what I want without, hey, shrink. Some people say shrink, some say come back, some get tight. Like, hey, let's make sure we're tight, make sure we're tight. And that may be vague to all of us, but as long as it makes sense to you and your team, no problem with that. Command coaching in a game is probably more ideal, to be honest. Stop yelling at players for mistakes. It's not gonna help. It's only gonna make it worse. Any thoughts on that? Go for it, Jose.
I agree 100%.
Why?
It doesn't do any good. I mean, you take it yourself. If I start telling you what you do wrong, it's not gonna help you.
No.
For anything in life.
They start to become scared to make a mistake, and then they start making even more mistakes because they're scared to make the mistake.
So if I'm a player and I pass the ball to the other team, I don't need to be told I passed the ball. Like, I know. Don't make it a scene. Don't make it bigger than, I know I made that mistake. Now, if I've done it 4 times, okay, probably a different story. You may, hey, let's sharpen up, look to play wider there, like, what are we doing? But the first time they do it, just woosah, maybe rub our ears, whatever it is. Like, just, that would be my 2 cents, especially with how kids are in the society and the culture we live in nowadays, just coach
And it
them.
depends the age, right? If they're very young and if they make that mistake, I mean, it depends what it is. You can, there are ways that you can communicate to them.
I
right?
think just coach them and have a conversation. We don't, like, Natalie's a teacher, I don't expect Nat to walk into Natalie's class and a kid writes an A wrong for her to start, what are you doing?
Interested enough, we were doing that, and I did.
Ah.
I did not. We're doing ages.
Okay,
I also did not get mad at them.
perfect. Okay, subs, let's talk subs really quick.
Second.
Please, 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 please plan out your subs. What do I mean by that? Kafusi, go for
Oh,
it.
just know who's going in for who, like the.
What do you mean?
So like my 7, I already know who's gonna run in for my 7, my 6. I don't know.
Okay, so let's say it's, who's your 7 right now?
Evan,
Okay, Evan's the starting 7. Who's your 7?
either Liam or Jordan.
Okay, so let's say it's Liam. At
Jordan's
what-
feelings are hurt, by the way.
Yeah, at what point do you normally sub Liam and why?
Well, that's a bad example, because Evan's basically an 89 player. My bad.
No, it's fine.
First team all state.
Let's go on.
Not coming off the field much. So let's say Evan dies.
So
Why is it Liam?
usually if I'm gonna sub, Jordan would go in for Evan at like maybe the last 10 minutes of the half, or if I know
Okay, so
Evan
let's
needs.
pick your left winger.
Okay, yeah. So there we go, so let's just, left.
Let's say it's Ozzy. Let's just
Oh,
say
yeah,
it's
Ozzy, that's fine.
Okay.
Right.
So at what point would Liam go for Ozzy normally, if it is a development game?
It's a development game? Like halfway or more.
Okay. 50%,
Yeah.
perfect. Try to win.
Depends on how well Ozzy's doing, but. you know.
Performance, okay.
Yeah,
So if Ozzy's playing well,
yeah.
when do you sub him off, or do you sub him off?
It depends on the stakes, right? I mean, if it's like a championship game, I don't if he's playing well. Yeah.
Okay, what do I mean by fitness level?
Well, so the first thing I'd look at probably is his defensive transition.
Okay,
Like if he's struggling to do the work early, get back and, if he loses the ball, at least getting back to cover an angle and then trying to win the ball back.
okay.
So if his fitness level isn't to where he's doing a quicker defensive transition after he's lost the ball, that's when I
Is-
start looking at the fitness level.
Is there a sub rule in USA?
No,
No.
no,
You don't have to.
not until state cup, right? U15 over.
What actually gives Ozzy a fitness break, substitution wise? So I sub Ozzy off, 5 minutes and I put him back on. Does that actually help him?
So I don't think so.
Why?
I don't know, I just look at it as a player myself,
Okay, Christine.
like I wanna play, but
Too
no.
little time to recover.
Okay, too little time to recover. 2 minutes. point do you think he would actually recover? Or is it about recovery?
I don't think it's about recovery,
Really?
especially
Uh-huh.
depending on the position too. Like if you're a center back, you may go 5-10 minutes with
Okay.
very minimal
So Ozzy,
exertion.
you played 90 minutes. Let's say Ozzy is 70 minutes fit. Okay, so at some point you gotta figure out in that game how to get him 70 minutes from a performance perspective. So that may be 35 in the first, and that means Liam comes on for the last 10. And then maybe I don't start Ozzy for the first 10, and Ozzy finishes the last 35. But to pull Ozzy off for 5 minutes and then throw him back on, what does that do for Ozzy? Nothing. Okay, number 2, what does that do to Liam? Talk to me.
Mentally.
No confidence,
No confidence, why?
because he's gonna go on for 5 minutes, think he's cool, like, he probably thinks he's done something wrong. He'd be punished.
Has he done anything wrong? Probably not. I just want
And if you do it often, he will feel like you're using them, right?
100%.
Well, the coach doesn't have confidence in it.
100%. So a lot of different things we can throw out there. Just think about our subs. 5 minutes, 2 minutes, it doesn't do anything for this player. And then what does it actually do to the player you're bringing on? And I think for me, it mentally hurts them, and you may not even be meaning to. It's not that you don't like Liam, Ozzy's just.
However, there are times that I've done it, but the player that I send him knows that he's gonna go for 5 minutes, and I don't do it for performance, I do it for technical talk. Like if the other team is killing me
Okay.
and Ramses is not doing it, I gotta talk to Ramses. Go, 5 minutes, bring him in, tell him what he has to do, and do the switch again. But the other player knows about it.
Thoughts on that, guys?
I think that's what USC games are for.
Yeah.
So, when would you do that?
UYSA games only, and development, yes,
No,
development,
Development games.
right.
USA, summer tournament, whatever. State Cup? Heck no, because he
You cannot do it.
can't go back on.
Yeah.
Like, that's just the other, and this is my suggestion. Help your players, let's say Ozzy isn't performing well. How can Ozzy figure out how to work through that? How can you help him work through that? If it's a performance issue, it's not a fitness issue, it's a performance issue. How can you help Ozzy work through that? Instead of pulling him off and talking to him, what's a way we can help Ozzy work through that? Because in the game of soccer, we don't get tons of subs. Like the US does, but in reality, we don't. Like, go for it, Spence.
So here's what I've seen, and I'm, with littler kids with U11. When I see a player that maybe is struggling, I try to set up in a situation for him to have at least one play where he has success. It seems like once that player tastes that success, all the past struggles, he forgets about it like that, and now his mind's on that success, confidence goes up, performance goes up. One example, I got a player named Monroe who's been struggling to get a goal. We get a free kick opportunity, he's my guy, go put him in. If he makes this free kick, his game's gonna change.
Okay.
He scores the free kick, from then on out, he scores 2 more goals in the game, ends up with a hat trick. And it was all because we were able to provide that one moment for him to have that taste of success. And the rest of the game, he rode off of that and did amazing.
Love it.
And
So-
just to add on the mental part, confidence comes, like big percent of confidence comes from experiences.
I would say 90% of it.
Yeah,
Hold on just a
90%
second.
of this actually.
So, I get into a game where I have to win, or it's based on winning. And I continually, every game in UISA, pull this kid off to talk to him. Now, the one time I need him to stay on, how's that gonna go? Because you've never worked on it with him or her in this moment in the game. Now they get here, they're just expecting you
Right.
to pull them off. That would be my other, just thought process. I'm not saying don't, okay, but not every time, if that makes sense. Maybe help them work through it in the game. Maybe they just had 2 bad bounces and we didn't see them as a coach and we thought that was them. In reality, it's the terrible fields we play on, but go ahead now.
So my teachers had come out where if we haven't given them the chance to work through their mental block in practices, and taught them how. Like how to breathe, how to deep, slow breathe so they can calm their mind down. Because oftentimes when we make a mistake, we're ready to be subbed, and we're like, oh, I'm just gonna get pulled out. And they just keep hyping their mistakes up, and then everything is a problem. But if we teach them how to calm down, then they'll be able to do it, and then we'll give them the chance to do so. But we have to teach them that skill still in practices, give them the chance to breathe through a mistake.
No, it's great. There's this, I'm doing it with my kids right now. It's meditation. It's called Stop by Chewbacca. Stop what you're doing. Take a breath.
Chewbacca, is that like
Chewbacca from Star Wars, yeah. There it is, Star Wars. So it's stop what you're doing, take a deep breath, observe, and then proceed. Yeah.
We call it our play toolbox. It's pause, rewind, and play.
Perfect. So just some sort of like, so anytime they're getting upset, it's like, hey, stop, or they're struggling, stop, see where you're at, observe, and then proceed. Halftime. Biggest thing for me, really quick, everyone's got their different things. Attacking, defending topic, I would do 1, maybe 2 points. I think it was, Hondo, you talked about, he has 1 attacking, 1 defending. Like the other thing I would throw in there is figure out, us as coaches, we need to be motivators, figure out some motivational, like Jose's fantastic, Celso, Kafusi, these guys are big motivators, I love it. But continue to work on the motivation piece for us that struggle, and then the tactic piece that add too many tactics in there. And then right at halftime, don't start talking to your players. Give them a second to breathe. Like they just were on the field, they're freaking running all over, they want water, they need a second to decompress. So do you as a coach. If you have assistants, walk over, talk with them, get on the same page, give them a second to breathe, then step back into it. That's my biggest thing from a halftime perspective. Question on that really quick, or thoughts?
As kids start getting older, you kind of start giving them the forum for them to tell you what it is that we need to work on. And a lot of the times they have it on, they just need to click.
Yeah, Kyle's teams are great at this. Like they sit and freaking talk soccer the whole halftime. Like he probably never would have to step in. Or my teams, it's like, so I've got to work on that. But yeah, I think that's a great point. Someone else out there.
I was gonna say the same thing. Even from the early age, I want my kids thinking about the game. So that's what we're trying to do, is teach them to understand the game. So every halftime, I always ask the boys, what do you guys see?
Perfect. I would add this in there. Designate one of the players every now and then to give a halftime point, so that they go into the game like.
So you tell them before the game, say,
Yep.
hey, at halftime, I want to get your thoughts on the game.
I want you to provide attacking, and I want you to provide a defending point. I'm doing that with my younger teams, and it's actually like working really well, especially with my kids that I want to have more leadership in the team. But that's just I think to build off of those comments, I think those are great.
What about, we just sat down for 15 minutes?
Yes, warm back up.
I think, I would guess that not many of us get our teams warmed up again.
Dynamic, and I like to do at least some sprint work again. UISA, you get 3.5 minutes if you're lucky. ECNL, EA, DPL, we get 15, 10, whatever it is. But try to do some, I think that's a great point, try to do some sort of warm up to get this back up there again. Would be my 2 cents. Second half, just again, timing the subs, pretty simple. Post game, thoughts on post game talks?
Keep it short.
Short, simple, are they ready to listen?
No.
No, they're freaking done. Win or lose, they're done. They did their job, they're turned off. The bell freaking rang in class, they're not listening to what the teacher says as they're walking out. So, go for it.
I don't believe in post-game talks, honestly. I
Okay.
don't do it. There are a few times that I do it. Like, we get killed so that they don't go home feeling like, because I
Dejected,
try
yeah.
to motivate them.
Yeah.
And just if we're in a tournament, so I just give them instructions about nutrition, sleeping, and stuff like that.
Logistics. I think the biggest thing is get them together. Just really quickly, get them together. Like, physical contact is a
That's a good
legitimate
point.
thing. Like,
Team.
just standing like this, there's just no camaraderie and unity just by putting arms around each other and just, hey, great job, guys, see you practice, we'll talk about the game tomorrow,
Team camaraderie.
cheer, whatever, but get the team together really quick. That would be my only 2 cents, because they're not gonna listen, just get them in some sort of win or lose. Hey, great job, or, you know what, wasn't our day, we will talk about this tomorrow, work on it, have a good night, whatever, or logistics, whatever it is, but get them together, would be my 2 cents.
And I will have to say, if you chew on them after losing a game, no one is paying attention.
Yeah, can't disagree with that, but once Coach done with his rant. Post-game reports, so this is more when me and Bailey come out to watch, just your objectives, and I don't, this is just, an example. Just what were your objectives, like I was at Tanner's game, Baroka Cup, he asked for feedback, and it's like, I can give you my feedback, but like, give me some context, like what did you try to do? So then I can say, okay, I did see this, or I didn't see this, or, oh, I understand like what you guys were trying to do, or you were trying to say. It's more just give us some context to what you're trying to do, so that we don't just provide blind feedback that doesn't make sense, and you're like, well, I was trying to do this, and, oh, okay, that makes sense. Is that fair? Simple enough? And then just for you personally, just reflection, how did warm-up go? How did my pregame talk go? How was my in-game coaching? Was halftime effective? Second half, are my substitutions good? Just some thoughts as you kind of go through it, and then things that you learned. So these will be the 2 things me and Bailey will work with you guys on game day. Just so you kind of have an idea, to have some feedback. Questions? Thoughts? Comments? Pretty close, sorry, 10 minutes off. Awesome, pre-academy can get out of here. Academy, Premier, Select, 11-11.
Thanks everybody here, like, I wanna touch base about the goalkeeper thing.
Go for it.
So I'm in charge of that with Lucio. So we're gonna try to do like, we want this run really well. So looking forward, like we wanna make it like a big stuff later on. So please, like I ask all of you guys to like just send the name of the keeper, the level they play for, what are we going to do? We're gonna divide them in groups, like to the level be close enough, and then for they can learn properly, okay? ECNL and academies and pre-academies, we're gonna try to do twice a week. So please, 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 those keepers, you have to encourage them to attend the training.
Pre-academy twice a week?
Yeah, so that's what we're gonna try to do. Oh, but I have a training on that day. So just give them like 20 minutes, and it's good, you know, just for they can get some runs right out of the keeper. Because your keeper, normally they stand in the whole practice, they don't do much. And then those keeper trainings will benefit them more than your practice, right? Or just say, Flavio, I need them for 10 minutes and then 20 minutes and then, you know what I mean? And then he's good to go all that time, right? So, but I need your help to encourage your keepers to obviously practice. Follow that. Oh, I have a practice of 4 and a 5:15 my keeper. I'm sorry, but yeah, that's mandatory. That's good for you, good for the team, blah, blah, blah. Any questions? Yep, yes, all the trainings are gonna be our complex.
Are you, take a 3-minute break, guys. We're gonna sit down for a while.
And then
Bathroom, water.
Monday, yep.
There's bathrooms right there, and the bathrooms on the far side.
So I'll say that for your age,
He's welcome to come.
I'd rather send him to
You see him, you see the guy like, oh, that kid is so good.
training, so Wednesday was that, just Wednesday, is that four? Yeah, because it's so twice a week.
Like, hold on, can we just change Troy's name? Sorry. And Alex
There was like no one, like, big, like,
Going against a big difference between college is it's just so much
For those that are in here really quick, any questions you want me to add to this that I didn't put on here? I was with Jordan last night.
Richie, I'm sorry, man.
Got
I
Tim,
will stay the whole time.
got some of Mario's. Got Lex. Any other questions you want me to add?
I'll give you one of my iPads. I don't ever use it. I'm not even getting it. I like.
So that nothing, you were on futility.
We like got when we got our phone.
I was.
Right. It's like, bro, visual right now. You can't put stuff like that in digital.
It is not right, Eric. Eric is my husband.
It's weird, I'm old. All the church crap, like, dude, I've read it all.
Perfect, okay. What?
One reason I made the note.
What? All right, let's get going. Bailey will kick us off. Here we go. Oh, sorry. Let me provide context really quick. So today is all about the logistics of your session and putting your session together and the flow of it. Next week or the next cycle in October, we will be on the field actually doing sessions and walking through them with each other on the field. So classroom today, field in October, just so we're aware and provide context for what's going on. So go for it.
I'll just go quick so then we can get to like the meat of this stuff. So 4 moments of the game: attacking, transition, defending, transition again. Hopefully, you know what it is. And then we have our phases of the game that like we've all that we've created that goes into our curriculum of basically what we think makes up that moment of the game and how we want to utilize it. So in cycle 1, we were working on disorganizing and denying, and this is cycle 2, where we're going to be working on exploiting and trapping. And then obviously in the transition is restricting, getting pressure on the ball right away when we lose it, and then also advancing when we win it quickly, advancing the ball forward. Are there any questions on this? Okay. These are some examples via video. This is exploiting. and then this is just kind of like the house of those, the house of the moment. So, we have our phase, and then we have like our principles basically, and all of our sub principles, and that's like the house. These are your coaching points. These are kind of like how you're figuring out what you're coaching in each activity. And we're gonna go into basically like what all of this means and like the house and how to use it in the next coaching part, because this one's just all about like looking at these and putting it on your paper to create a training session versus like what the training session is about. But just like to look at these, obviously, for trapping, the objective is trapping the ball with a press, and then these are your principles of how to do that and how to coach on it. So hopefully you can like look at those and kind of pull your coaching points out of that. Are there any questions on that? Cool.
Okay, lots of questions on this. So ultimately want to help everybody build their session based on this information that's given. Okay, so let's start with the session progression. So you all have a session sheet. What is stage one? Warm up. Okay? What does warm up consist of? There's 2 to 3 things. Number 1 is dynamic. We all know what dynamic is. Number 2 is movement, which could be forward, could be sideways, it could be change of direction / reaction, or explosive power. Do I need to walk through those, or do we understand what those 4 are? Serious, like, this is time to ask. So forward movements, sideways movements, so that would be sideways, like shuffle, crossover. Forward movement is basically running forwards and backwards. Change of direction and reaction is just, I say head, shoulders, knees, and toes green, and we go grab the green cone, or I watch a runner run past me and I gotta figure out which one it is, blah, blah, blah. And then power movements is plyometrics, or explosive movements. Clear? Okay, what would be the third?
Extensive range of defense. Like the
Potentially, that's all part of this. Skills, maybe. It's only 1 day a week. Football sprints. We'll get into that a little bit more, but that's what your warm-up consists of. Number 2, what is stage 2? Passing and finishing. Okay? To make this simple, it could be a passing pattern with a shot at the end. It could be a 4v2 rondo. That is a passing exercise. It doesn't have to be a pattern. The simplest version would be a pattern without any pressure. Next would be a pattern with passing pressure. The third would be a rondo, or something to that effect, because there's actual game realistic pressure. Does that make sense on the passing and finishing? Okay, third would be possession or position games. What is that? This one's really famous right now, next to Pat. How is this possession? Is it positional? Depends on what? Someone said depends. Shape. Okay, so this could be the 1, 4, 5, 6, 10s, 9. And then every time your objective is to get the ball from here to here, and then it switches. Now this becomes the 1, 4, 5, So that is a possession game. Does that make sense? Okay, another, again, rondo. This could be 1, 4, 5, 6, or 6, 10, 9. Okay. So pretty much any possession game can be a position game as long as it has direction. Okay? So the third set is a possession position game. Usually they are not to goals. They're to space or bumpers or they're continuous. Fourth, tactical game. What is a tactical game? Small-sided, maybe?
But is there anything that they use the topic you've been working on to achieve the goal that you want to achieve?
Aha. Applying principles into a game. Making it as realistic as possible. Ideally, this should be as close to 11v11 as possible every time. So I'm working on my press. How do I work on my press in 4v4? You can, but it's just very, very small. It's not going to come out in the game. So get to as close to 11v11, and not everyone's going to have 22 players, but it's back 4 and a 6, like, and you're pressing with your 9, 11, 7, 10. Like, that's attacking the goalkeeper. There's your tactical game. Now, I want to be more successful. Coming out of second 10. My team sucks. Take away the 6. Okay, I want to be more challenged. I'm going to overload myself in the middle. Like, that's your tactical game. I want to work on the inverted outside back. Okay, this is where lots of coaching, walkthroughs, patterns. It could be 7v2 for all I care. But it's just working on the tactics of your game. So that when we get into a game, we say, hey, build out a back. Your team knows how to build out because you've actually worked on it. Press, we've actually worked on it. Okay, our throw in, or we're in the midfield third, we're looking to find a wide player. How do we find the wide player? Is that clear? And then this one is your fitness game. And it could be maintenance, it could be overload, it could be underload, it could be prep. What do I mean by maintenance? Tammy, you won this last night, go for it.
Maintenance?
Maintenance fitness game.
What maintenance was, when we talked about?
Just in summary. I don't need like super specific, but what would be the difference between maintenance and overloading?
Was it the amount of reps?
Perfect. The amount of time. So I would do a maintenance game that basically doesn't overload us and doesn't underload us. Overload, I'm pushing our fitness level. Like, they should be freaking exhausted by the end of this game. Underload, way down, way down. Like, way down. Still want to work on it, but instead of doing 10 minutes, I'm doing 3. Prep, pretty similar. It's day before a game, I don't want to kill my team, but I still want to get, and this could be 11v11, 7v7, 3v3, those 3 areas. So it could fit within there. Questions on the session layout before we go into the details? The flow of the session. Now there may be a day you don't get to this, no problem. There may be a day you don't get this and you go straight to that, no problem. Like, it doesn't have to hit this frickin' spot on, but that should be pretty close to your flow. Good so far? Okay. Introduction, overload, mastery. I think we're all clear on that, yes? Josh, talk to me about mastery session.
So your mastery session have been planned for today. The master session should basically be building on prior objectives, right? Doing them as intense, as game-like as we possibly can, right? To try and see if they've really learned how to apply all the things we've worked on.
Perfect. Lots of coaching or little coaching?
Ideally, there should be very little coaching.
Observation.
I wanna let them do it, and then we make feedback as we need.
Introduction, more coaching. Overload, good mixture. Okay? Physical demand, this is a big question. 50%. Let's see if, let's go Celso and Jose. We talked about this last night. What does 50% total load mean for the session?
50% of what a realistic game is.
Okay, so expand.
So if
So
a
you
game,
play 90 minutes.
if my team plays 70 minutes, is that what we play in the 11?
Let's do 70, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay?
So my team plays, so my 50%, I'm gonna try to work them to a 35-minute game.
Okay, so your session should be not 35 minutes.
No, but they should be able to be very active during 35
For
minutes.
35 minutes of the session.
So it's
Okay,
50% of what my game is.
Yes.
Time-wise.
People get confused, 50%, oh, my players are gonna run 50%. No, 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 your players go
All the time they gotta go
100%, all the time. Now, a normal, let's say, 70-minute session or 70-minute type session, 100%, you're going for 10 minutes in an activity. Just split that in half. To meet the 50. That's all that means. It's still at 100%. You go for 5 instead of 10. Does that answer the total load question? Or the work rate question? Because that is a big question that comes up a lot. Okay. Tactical topic. I should probably change that to say phase of play, but do we understand exploiting now after Bailey showed us? Or do I need to go back? Go back really quick. Moment, phase. These are the phases we're working on right now. Definition of that phase. So this right here is what you are working on. We talked about exploiting, so it's basically trying to get past the last line of defense. Is that making sense? Some reassurance would be nice.
Yeah.
Okay, the X, let's talk overload numbers. Okay, so back to this. Overload on fitness, that is a fitness activity. What does that mean to you guys? Lex, we talked about this a little bit. What does overload mean to you?
Overload numbers,
Yeah.
your numbers up on one side, whatever you're working on.
Okay, I like that, but different. I'm gonna overload our fitness level. So the numbers, when I get to this 5th game, need to fall within that 11v11 and 8v8 range. Because this fitness is very different than that fitness. We talked about it in the last one. Easier or harder?
Easier.
Easier. Not as many repetitions, way more repetitions in a short amount of time, shorter recovery, longer recovery. Okay? So the first 2 weeks is always here. Second is here, or sorry, the 3rd and 4th here, 5th and 6th here. That would be your overload game. If there's an X, there's nothing going on. Or there's no prescribed thing happening. Underload, what does that mean?
Not going as hard.
Okay, so polar opposite. Instead of pushing our fitness, we're gonna drop drop the physical load of our fitness, okay? What you actually do is the underload preps you for this one. So you do 11v11 on Tuesday or your fitness day, and then the Thursday you would do an underload game. And then week 3 and 4, your overload would be here, and your underload here. Week 5 and 6, your overload here, underload there. To keep those levels of fitness up and intact. Questions on that?
So on the-
periodization freaking sucks. It's hard to understand.
So on the overload, like the 11-11, for example, would be like,
Yes.
and 90% would be like a 10-minute game, rest for 2, and then we're.
I'll show you the prescription, but yes,
And then 77, it would be a 3-minute game, rest for 7.
yes.
Okay.
Now, I'll give you the exact time, but yes, 100%.
Thanks.
For an overload situation, you get more out of it in smaller numbers, right? But if you're going 11v11, then it's more about duration.
Correct. So this is extensive. How much can I perform at a high quality over a longer period of time? A little mix of both. So high quality, longer and short periods of time. High quality, short period, and recovery. Does that make sense? Like those are 3 different fitness level types. So that's why you try and hit all 3 as much as you
So
can.
Michael, I see that you have, for this week, you have intro, overload, intro. What is that?
Attacking,
Okay,
so intro, overload.
let me see, where's the attack,
Very
okay,
top.
attack, oh, I see, I got it
Hours,
now.
defending,
So
first
the
time I'm
moment
doing it,
we're doing
intro.
attacking, defending.
Yes, transition, first time I'm doing it, intro.
Got
So
it,
then next
okay,
week,
that makes sense.
just to show you,
Yeah, your 29th is gonna look, yeah.
next week is now overload. Attacking is overload again, and this is the first time I'm doing this transition, so it's intro.
Intro,
Does
yeah.
that make sense?
Yes, totally.
Great question. Okay. So if there's an X, it's not in prescription, don't have to do it. If it's in there, go for it. Does that make sense? Okay. Warm-up objective, we're clear on that one. Extensive, clear on that as soon as I show you, it just tells you your time that you should do it, rather than anything else, okay? Football sprints, this is the big one, okay? Only done on fitness day. Okay, football sprints, there's 3 types. Sprinting, just plain sprinting, and there's a prescription, and it's literally, okay, I'm sprinting from here to here in a certain amount of time with a certain amount of break and a certain deceleration. The next one is football sprints with minimum rest. So that would be, there's a goal, and there's a couple different ways you can do it. I count out 15 yards, and I usually do 18 for the top of the box so we don't kill the keeper. But I'm doing from here to here is 15 yards. Coach here with the ball, player, player. I roll the ball, and it's this player versus this player. And they have until this line. The first one is they have 6 reps, and then they have 10 seconds to recover. So I would do probably, usually do 6 to 8 kids at a time, and the others are recovering and resting. But boom, as soon as they shoot it, these 2 are sprinting back to work on that recovery, and then go again. And they do that 6 times, switch the groups, give them 2-minute rest, do the other group, and you do that twice. That's football sprints with minimum recovery. The reason for this, if I send a player just on a sprint from here to here, how fast do you think they go at their capacity? 100%? Slower. Yeah, it's usually around 75 to 80. I add a player or an opposition, now it goes up to 90. And this was a study, you had a ball in opposition, they exceeded their 100% every time, for the most part, like in the study. So that's the reason for it, is to increase their maximum speed and their recovery. Okay, then weeks 5 and 6, you do football sprints with max recovery. So very similar, but instead of them sprinting back, freaking walk. It's 30 seconds or 45, whatever the prescription says, but they walk back. And it's all about here to here. And the first one I think is 5 yards, the second set is 15, and the last one is 25. So that's what a football sprint is, just so we're all on the same page.
So the difference between the BPE prescribed sprints and football sprints is just the difference between adding the ball in. and
Yes,
adding the
ball, opponent, and goal.
Yeah.
So the last 4 have a ball and opponent, the first 2 have no ball or opponent.
Right.
Okay, passing and finishing, extensive, intensive, that's just the timing. That's all it is. and I'll give that to you. Question, sets, steams, first time finishing. What does a set mean to you, Natalie?
Not a clue.
Perfect. Ball comes into me, Josh plays me,
Oh, it just
I
said-
set. It's just a set, just set the ball, boom.
Just the name.
Oh.
Steam, what's a steam?
First touch.
Ah! Freaking sting the ball, zip it, smash it. Okay, so sting it in there, first time finishing, pretty simple. Through balls, we all know what a through ball is. Distance, probably bigger balls, not the short da-da-da-da-da. Turning and cutbacks, we all know what a cutback is. So just different variation. Wall passes and third man runs, so I'm just looking for little pops to get in, or pop and it's the third guy. And then the fourth is individual dribbling and shot creation. Those are just kind of the different. So for select, premier, what I would do is, let's say you're doing 2 sessions. I do these 2 the first week, those 2 from a topic standpoint the second week, and then start all over. Make sense? Yeah? Okay, possession, position games.
Michael.
Yes, go for it.
Where do you have football sprints in this one? What's
Right
your
under a
fitness?
warm-up objective, so it's right here, EPP, explosives, and I'll give you the chart so you know what that means.
Okay. Okay.
Because right now that means nothing,
Mhm.
just trying to make it abbreviated so it can fit.
Okay.
Okay, possession, position games, again, different type of fitness, different type of space, different type of complexity. So, 4 to 6, this would be 4 to 6 defenders right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, perfect, perfect game for Tuesday. Next time, okay, I need 7 to 10 defenders, so I need to make the space bigger and add more numbers. Then I need to make it smaller. That just gives you guidelines of what, and then it'll actually give you the timing as well for this right here. So you're not making it up off the top of your head. Now the game, do whatever you freaking want with the game, like within the objectives. Tactical periodization, lots of questions on this. So in the book, and I'll send this again after tonight. Here is your tactical periodization. So what did it say, A2 or A3? A3. So, anytime I'm attacking A3, on the ball, I'm looking for the highest scored option on the side of the diamond. That's what I'm coaching. Doesn't mean they can't find the point, but what I'm coaching is the side. And then off the ball, I'm coaching them to find the diamond, the side, and be in a position instead of the movement in there. So it just gives you your learning topics. This would be defending.
Michael, all of this is in the Google Drive?
Yes, I will send it again.
But I have, it's like, what is it called? Is it, if I go
Coaching
to-
book. 13 to 19 coaching book.
Okay.
Answer the question on the numbers, or the letter number combination.
No questions.
Perfect, okay. Tactical objectives, I just tried to write them in there, so you don't have to go look in the actual book, it's just right here. Rather than having to go back and create one. Yes, Ken?
Do you want, not like I get the layout, what you want, do you want us all doing, like for this week, you want us all doing attacking Tuesday, attacking Wednesday, you want us on the same schedule?
Yes, for the most part.
Okay.
Especially academy teams. You guys don't really have a choice.
Sorry.
Premier and select. Like if I'm a select team, I'm doing this session and probably this session. Cause I can do a transition in this session. Like there's always transition inside of a game. So I would just do attacking, defending, and then coach transition in there as well. Question?
For select teams, would you recommend attacking, defending, generally speaking, one in each every
Yes.
week, just all?
Now, if you're doing 3, I would do attack, defend, transition, attack, defend, transition. Because I know some of you guys are. If I'm a premier team, that's what I'm doing. Now, really quick, if there's a game, tweak this, take out, if there's a midweek game, take out the fitness session. Never do a fitness session when you have 2 games inside of a week. Now, if they're on the weekend, different story. But if you have a midweek game, take out the fitness session.
So like we have a game Thursday, and Saturday, so we just go do the Tuesday session.
So you have games Thursday, so basically I would take this out,
Yep.
and I would do this Tuesday, Wednesday. I would make this more, I mean, it's an introduction at 30%, so that's a good cut.
Yeah.
And then I would take this out and do recovery or off on Friday,
Okay.
just for now. Okay, questions on the layout? Help us build our session easier now. Hopefully. Okay,
Also,
go ahead.
I was just thinking of this because Kyle asked me a question, but, when you have a game and it like messes up your week, you can still you can still do your topics, but your load is just.
Yes,
significantly
100%.
different.
Your
So, like,
load just drops. The
Yeah.
topics still come out, but your load.
even in a recovery, like
Yes.
you can still teach the topic that you're going to, but it's just your recovery load.
This was new to me on the periodization course, because everyone thinks a recovery session is what?
Stretching.
Stretching,
Juggling.
juggling, freaking soccer, tennis, like, okay, I was taught it's actually a session. It's passing, it's possession, but the load is freaking way down. And the cognitive load is like nothing, or it's walkthrough. It's a repeat of what you've already taught them. It may be going over, okay, we struggled at this yesterday, let's walk through this a little bit. But a recovery session is actually a session, it's probably 30 to 40 minutes, and the reps are just way down, where I always thought it was, and I always did this, was freaking soccer, tennis, and mess around and stretch. Like, that actually, you need to get them moving to get the lactic acid out.
Yeah, because it was already said, it's always 100%.
Yes.
It's just.
Yeah. Okay.
But cognitively though, you're.
Super low.
Super low too.
Yes, because, and I would do that the day before game 2, super low.
So you're not talking as much in between.
Correct. Yes, so the coaching is just much lower or simpler. Like, you're not trying to introduce new topics, if that makes sense. You're just reiterating them. And that's what we'll kind of go over more next time, is on the field coaching, stuff like that. Okay. The timing sheets, field sizes. So this just helps, is you're trying to, okay, I'm playing 4v4 or 5v5, this includes your goalkeeper. This should be kind of your starting shape. You may want to make it smaller or bigger depending on what you want.
Is that yards or what's it?
Yes, yards, I have it in yards. This just gives you an idea, like I was always clueless of like, oh, I think I should do 18 by 18, like a double 18. And in reality, it's freaking tiny. So it just gives you a better idea. Okay, let's do football sprints. So during the season, and this is in the way, these are the two you do, which is 9 and 10. Sorry, it's 8 and 10. So week 1, you'll do 8, which is 9 sprints, 30 meters long, at 90% of their full sprinting. And they have 30 seconds to recover. It shouldn't be taxing. It really shouldn't. It's more just prepping.
Michael, you said you remove the fitness session when you have a game midweek.
Game, yes,
Midweek.
100%. And then the next time it just goes up to 10 and 20, 100%, 20 seconds. Okay? Now here's your football sprints, minimum rest. We should be on, some of us may be on 1, which is fine, no problem. We should be on 7 reps, 15 IU yards, instead of meters, a 10-second recovery. Pop. And they have 2 sets of those.
So don't question, but just to reiterate, this is on Tuesday, because it's fitness day.
Yes. Yep. Max rest, this is where it gets a little more complicated, just more numbers. You have 7 reps at 5 yards, 30-second recovery. 4 reps, 15 yards, 45-second recovery, and so on. Does that make sense? And these 2 are with a you said it.
Sorry, what?
With a ball and an opponent.
With a ball, yeah.
Yeah, there we go, Josh, thank you.
I'm like.
That copied me.
I know some communications.
So questions on football
But-
sprints?
So yeah, so first number is first number of distance, right, first rest recovery, and then second, third. And we do all that within the same session, yes, got it.
This usually takes 7 to 12 minutes, just depends on how big your team is. It's not very long.
No, it should be fast.
Yeah. Okay. Fitness session. So this is the timing for your last game here. So if I'm gonna play 11v11 or 8v8, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna play 2 games at 10 minutes worth, where this time will be 11. So we're gonna play for 11 minutes, and this is on a fitness day, and recover for 2. I'm gonna do 2 of those games. If it is maintenance, which is 50%, so let's just go off the load. Cut that in half. 2 games at 5.5 minutes with 2-minute recovery. If it's 75%, maybe I can't get a full fitness day in, just do 75% of the work. If it's a prep, I want 30% of that or 25% of that. Is that clear? Okay, and then it goes down, 77, I work for 4, rest for 2, do 4 games. This one's a little more confusing. 12 games, 1 minute work, 3-minute rest. So what I actually do is I do 6 teams, and I do 2 teams of 3v3 or 4v4.
1 minute work and
1 minute
3
work and
minutes rest.
3-minute rest. So for example, let's just say this is the field. I got 3 on, and then I got this team, circle team, square team, triangle team, and oval team. Start, sorry, okay. These 2 will play for a minute, off, then these 2 hop on. These 2 play for a minute, off, then these 2. And then these 2 would be on after. So that way everyone's staying active and you're not sitting there for 3 minutes like, you got 3 games going on, you're like, okay, we gotta sit here for 3 minutes and like play pitter patter. And you gotta push these guys in that game. So questions on fitness, maintenance, underload, overload, like that's your time of the prescription.
This is still on the Google sheet and the.
Yes, I will give all this stuff to you guys.
So just one question, so on the total games played, is that like 20 games played that we should be doing like?
Where, sorry,
on weeks 5 and 6, at the very bottom, you have like 16, 18, 20 games.
okay, well that step, you probably will not get there, but go on.
Well, my question is, yeah, so that's where we're coming back, is that the idea is we're starting week 1 this week, right? Like, and I had to start mine with John. The timing's ahead of time, but that would be like November, somewhere in there.
Honestly, it would be May.
Yeah. Oh, cause each total number of sessions.
Well, so like, you're only doing that once,
Right.
and that's week 5 and week 6. So then you're not gonna hit it again for another 6 weeks,
Got
or
it.
5 weeks.
Which,
So then that's why we're at step 2.
got it.
Because this is cycle 2. So in 6 weeks, will be 1 game with 2 minutes rest instead of 2.5.
Got it.
So like, we may be lucky to get halfway through, to be honest.
Right.
But it just gives you that idea of like, okay, we should be getting fitter and fitter and fitter. Okay, last 2 pieces. Extensive, intensive passing. There's your prescription. Work for 2 or work for 1. Rest for a minute, how many sets you can do. That just gives you, and you can add these together. So like for me, I'll do 4 sets, and I do 4 minutes on, 2 minutes off. Like just, you can combine them like that. And then the possession, this one helped me a ton. And this actually goes for the tactical game as well. So if I'm doing a tactical game, and it's 11v11, I should only be going for 3 minutes of work with 1.5 recovery, 4 times. Now that's maximum, just to help so that you don't push them past their fitness level, if that makes sense. Questions on possession and passing, finishing, timing stuff? It's a lot. So you do this game, what should, Natalie, what should the prescription be time-wise?
For that game?
Yep, 4 defenders.
2 work, 1 rest?
Perfect. So you do this for 2 minutes, they're off for a minute. do it for 2, offer a minute, do it for 2, offer a minute, do it for 2, next activity.
So our schedule, you're talking laying out like 10 minutes basically for that section.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you do it. Now, let's say, okay, I really, like, I need to get some more coaching, no problem. I just minimize the total time, so you're not crushing it. Or take it out of this one. Like, I don't wanna get too detailed, but don't do a 4th rep here, just do 3 reps.
So you could go longer into that and just remove the set
Yes,
4.
100%.
Oh, okay.
Or, let's say I need to spend longer in tactical, take it out of whatever it
The
is.
possession.
Okay, what do the boxes mean? I think we answered that. Explain the different boxes, where we get the info. It's in the coaching book, okay? How do we fill the session based on the information? Answer that. If I didn't, raise your hand, how about that? Session progression, I think we got that. How to fill in the work rest set information, because our group struggled with this one last night. Wouldn't you agree, Jordan, Jose, so, like, didn't know where it was coming from, so now you know. Okay, difference between intro overload, I think we're good. Terminology, I think we're good. If you have a question, don't be afraid to ask. Total load, I think we're good. It's not, okay, this is 50%, so it's a 60-minute, it may be 80 minutes. It's just the actual work that's going into what they're doing. Periodization charts, we just did that. Restricting, those are the phases of play. C2, we talked about that, get that in the curriculum book. And then cycle information in the curriculum book. Lots of info. Questions, thoughts, concerns, comments?
Makes it crap load more sense.
That's what I was hoping for.
For each scenario teams, I mean, probably the academy ones, it's gonna, so with those things, we're gonna do the fitness, the agility spirit, or Caesar Steele's going to work with us in this.
He's supposed to, but I have not heard anything.
Is it just like,
So is that something
where
that he should
where he's gonna
do?
fit,
Yeah.
Speed and agility.
Yeah, because if he's not doing, because it used to.
He's supposed to be doing it. I don't know when, but he will be doing it.
Okay, so he
So
will.
that's only for ECNL teams?
Yes.
Okay. He
For,
will be
To
doing.
rephrase that answer.
for academy teams, we gotta do our own thing then?
Yeah, it's just what we do on Mondays with,
Okay.
will be with Kenzie.
Seems like the warm up part when you're doing all of your
Correct.
stuff.
It's a lot, thank you guys, appreciate it, especially those that have been here for all 3 sections.
For a while, bro.
He's away, he's away.
So just think, just reach out.
I've talked to Dolph, we just, every team just has one, want to do something different. You know, SXR's like.
I still have it.
But so if we're doing, my point is, we're doing speed agility on Monday, the ECNL's there too. So are we gonna also tack on, say, so they're gonna have 2 days of speed agility? Okay, that's all.
He came in the summer or pre. My team came from Sturge. A lot of my kids
Did you hear about?
She'll start running and everything.
You're in the winter when it happens.
All 6 weeks. Fill that.
So, I've mom, but I've also been there, right, and they've played top level, I watched the game, it's very level of Jackson. I studied the game, no top level, league license coaches.
Man, with summer and movie out.
Right, so I know the game. Well, just someone who needs a lot of exposure to this kind of stuff, which does help.
I wanna say.
But I just don't say that without knowing the terminology. So like we're doing that, right?
I would say it's like,
There's obviously a lot of stuff that
Get your board, I'll get your board tomorrow.
Are all the pieces in here?
Oh,
I love these things, man.
So now it's.
Yeah.
Oh,
It
okay.
was honestly just to like practice the game out. Like what we would come up with in the we weren't no one was presenting anything.
Parents or girls or just like what's going on. It's just how it is. You know, it's the same thing when you have a female teacher, as opposed to a male teacher in the lower elementary. You want the male teachers in like math for high school or science for high school. You know, it's just the way it goes. So they were potentially really good.
You know what game was it? It was already gonna be moved to it's really like like they would always have their handful.
So I pulled my team out. I was supposed to send my team, so don't even look at it. So I was like, this is a lot of drama. I don't know, just make you like drama. Can you just see if you like my son and I just bring him on your team? And otherwise I'm just gonna have little. And he's like,
Dance chicken.
that's fine, you don't mind. So it was really nice.
Guys, you learned all the stuff I've done.
He's okay.
This out.
I mean, he assisted their role.
Huh? Yes, I would. I would like to go and like go and see the sessions.
Hey, good to see you, my
Let's
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
No.